A turbine blade inside a running jet engine is spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute. The gas passing over it is hotter than the melting point of aluminum. It is hotter, in fact, than the melting point of most steels. The blade is under enormous centrifugal force in a chemically corrosive atmosphere at a temperature that would make ordinary metal soft. The blade does not melt. It does not deform. It has been doing this for thousands of flight hours. That blade is made of Inconel, a family of nickel-based superalloys that most people have never heard of, inside machines that most people fly in every week. The real question is not just what Inconel is. The real question is, how do you manufacture a material that is designed to resist the very forces humans use to shape metal? The answer is one of the strangest paradoxes in modern engineering. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. The metal inside the fire. At its core, Inconel is not simply a strong metal. It is a material engineered to keep its properties in the conditions where ordinary metals lose theirs. Most metals weaken as they heat up. Aluminium softens well below turbine temperatures. Steel holds strength to a point, then falls sharply. Titanium performs well up to a limit, then creeps and deforms. Inconel does not follow that pattern. Its nickel-chromium base stays structurally intact at temperatures that would cause most engineering metals to flow like clay. When exposed to heat, chromium forms a stable, dense protective layer on the surface. It holds, acting as a thermal shield for everything beneath. The result is a material that gets harder to damage exactly when the environment becomes most aggressive. Born in a burning problem. It did not start as a story about superalloys. It started as a story about a jet engine that was killing its own blades. In the early 1940s, engineers working on the development of the Whittle jet engine, the first practical turbojet engine in history, ran into a fundamental problem. The temperatures generated inside the engine exceeded what any available material could reliably withstand. Steel turbine blades softened under sustained heat. Aluminium was not even a candidate. Tungsten could handle the temperature but was far too heavy for rotating parts. Every material that was strong enough failed the heat test, and every material that survived the heat failed under the mechanical stress of constant high-speed rotation. Research teams at Henry Wigan and Company in Hereford, England, a subsidiary of the International Nickel Company, had been working with nickel-chromium alloys since before the war. Their trademark registration for the Inconel family dates to 1932. But it was the burning urgency of wartime aviation that turned a laboratory material into an engineering solution. The nickel-chromium combination they had developed could hold its strength at the temperatures inside a turbine. It resisted oxidation. It did not require a weight penalty that would ground the aircraft. It was, by the standards of everything available, exactly what the jet engine needed to survive and keep flying. The alloy went into the Whittle engine. The engine flew, and the age of reliable jet aviation became possible partly because of a material most passengers would never know existed, hidden inside the hottest part of the machine, carrying them across continents at 35,000 feet. Over the following decades, the alloy family was refined continuously. Inconel 625 was developed for applications demanding extreme corrosion resistance in chemical and marine environments. Inconel 718, introduced in the 1960s, became the most widely used superalloy in the world, valued for combining high strength with better machinability than its predecessors. Today, Inconel 718 accounts for roughly a third of all superalloy production by weight globally. The trademark is now held by Special Metals Corporation, but the alloy family it covers is embedded in aviation, energy, oil and gas, and space technology worldwide. The material created to keep a wartime jet engine alive has never stopped being the answer in the hottest parts of modern machines. What heat does to everything else. So why does Inconel survive where other materials fail? Think of it less like a metal that resists heat and more like a metal that uses heat to defend itself. When Inconel is exposed to high temperatures, something counterintuitive happens at its surface. The chromium content reacts with surrounding oxygen to form a tightly bonded oxide layer. Unlike rust, which is porous and flakes away, this oxide layer is dense and stable. It does not continue reacting. It simply sits there as a protective skin, preventing the material below from oxidizing further. The hotter the environment, the faster and more completely that layer forms. Beneath the surface, the nickel base of the alloy maintains its crystal structure at temperatures where iron-based alloys would lose theirs. When a metal loses its crystal structure under heat, it begins to creep, to slowly deform under load even without catastrophic failure. Inconel resists creep because the alloying elements, including niobium, molybdenum, and in some grades aluminium and titanium, form structures within the nickel matrix that resist that movement at the microscopic level. The alloy is built to hold its shape even when it is hot enough that most metals have effectively forgotten what shape means. And then there is work hardening. This is the quality that makes Inconel so difficult to manufacture, and it is worth understanding clearly. When a cutting tool moves through Inconel, the surface layer of the metal does not simply yield and remove itself. It deforms slightly and then immediately hardens. The next cut encounters a surface that is tougher than the one before it. Tools wear faster, cutting forces increase. The metal is not refusing to be shaped out of stubbornness. It is responding to the physical stress of the cutting tool with exactly the same mechanism it uses to protect itself inside a turbine. The metal that was designed to resist deformation under extreme industrial stress resists the factory trying to shape it with exactly the same stubbornness it shows at 30,000 feet. The hardest part is making it. The assumption most people carry about manufacturing is that if you can design a material with outstanding properties, making it into a finished part is just a question of equipment and time. With Inconel, that assumption runs into a wall. On the standard machinability index, where free-cutting steel scores 100, Inconel typically scores around 12. That means cutting Inconel is roughly 8 times more demanding in tool wear, cutting forces, and heat generation than working with ordinary steel. It is not that Inconel cannot be machined. It is that every pass of a cutting tool is a negotiation the metal tends to win. The heat problem is central. Inconel conducts heat poorly. When a tool cuts through it, friction heat concentrates at the cutting edge rather than spreading through the workpiece. Tools overheat and fail faster than on almost any other common engineering material. Carbide inserts that would cut reliably for hours on steel may last minutes on Inconel before needing replacement. Machining speeds must stay slow. Any hesitation causes the tool to rub rather than cut, triggering work hardening without removing material. The cost is not just in tooling, it is in time. A component that takes an hour to machine from steel might take 8 hours from Inconel. In aerospace manufacturing, where turbine components must be machined to fractions of a millimeter, those hours multiply across thousands of parts every year. Everywhere fire is the enemy. Today, you will find Inconel in every industry where sustained extreme heat meets a requirement for mechanical reliability. In commercial aviation, every flight you have ever taken depended on it. The turbine blades, discs, combustor liners, and exhaust components of every major jet engine in service today contain Inconel, or a direct descendant of it. The temperature gradient through a modern turbine exceeds the operating range of every alternative material at comparable weight and strength. Without Inconel, modern commercial aviation at its current scale and reliability would simply not be possible. In space, Inconel has been used in rocket engine components since the earliest programs. The SpaceX Merlin engine uses Inconel components in its combustion chamber and nozzle, where the temperature and pressure environment would destroy most structural materials within seconds. The alloy that helped Frank Whittle fly in 1941 is still flying payloads into orbit today. That continuity across 8 decades of aviation and aerospace history says more about Inconel's position than any specification sheet could. In oil and gas, Inconel is used in downhole drilling equipment exposed to hydrogen sulfide, high pressure, and elevated temperatures simultaneously. In nuclear power, it is found in steam generator tubing and reactor components where radiation, heat, and corrosive water chemistry combine. The pattern across every application is the same. The environment is extreme, the consequences of failure are severe, and Inconel is specified because nothing else available meets all the requirements at once. It refuses to give in. So how is Inconel made, and why is it so hard to work with? Because the same properties that make it survive inside a jet engine work against every tool that tries to shape it. It resists heat, so cutting tools overheat. It keeps its strength, so machines push harder. It hardens as it is worked, so every cut makes the next one more difficult. Inconel is not expensive only because of what it contains. It is expensive because it is designed to resist the very forces humans use to shape metal. The turbine blade keeping your aircraft in the air was harder to make than almost anything else on the plane. That is not a flaw. That is the point. If this changed the way you think about the materials inside the machines that carry you, let us know in the comments what object or material you want us to look at next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.